Hello and welcome to Bosconian Arcade. I'm Graham and today I'll be looking at two space shooters from the early 80s, Bosconian and Xevious. Both Namco classics, both about shooting stuff, but in a genre which can lack variety, which stands out? Let's start with the older title, Bosconian. Bosconian is a free-roaming space shooter from 1981. Triggering the human instinct to shoot anything that moves, your goal is immediately clear from glancing at the purple radar to the right. Find green dots, blow them up. The dots represent these hex-like enemy bases. Once all of these in the area are destroyed, the next round will begin with a handful more. Destroy those, a new round begins, etc. It repeats infinitely. As I said, Bosconian is a free-roaming game. A distinction from linear or fixed position shooters of its era. You can explore anywhere you like for as long as you like. But the more time you spend in any round, the more enemy ships will be sent to eliminate you. Striking out the bases quickly is efficient, but lingering about raises an opportunity to increase your score by taking on more enemies. This creates a clear risk-reward system of quick kills versus high scores, but even the early rounds will become more dangerous if you aim to raise your score early on. Bosconian's difficulty augments to the level of your success. The higher your score, the more trouble you'll be in. Coloured alerts let you know if the heat is on. Red alert is serious business. Finding your own happy medium between these two options is Bosconian's hook. Playing chicken against an entire army will give you a rebellious rush, as dodging their attacks becomes more and more risky. Or you can take the speedy approach and blast the bases ASAP. There's a definite nuance to the 8-way control, which is a joy to master. That being said, Bosconian shows its age now, as despite the variable difficulty and free-roaming gameplay, there's nothing to distinguish one environment from another, and things become quickly repetitive. You could aim this criticism at most arcade games from the 80s, but the fact remains that this is a sign of the times, which wears on the game now. Now let's move on to Xevious, released in 1982. Like most games in the genre, Xevious is a linear space shooter. Mastering it takes practice, memorization, and quick reflexes. Your ship is fitted with two different attacks, the standard rapid-fire bullets and a targeted bomb drop, which is used to take out anti-air units. Learning which to prioritise comes with practice. On top of that, enemy airships don't always attack in a fixed pattern. You have to get into the groove of Xevious and find the rhythm of each stage, or risk being shot down. One major difference between this and Bosconian, besides the linearity, is the visuals. Despite being a space shooter, it's impressively not set in outer space. To achieve this not outer space milestone in video games, Namco created a single large graphic, which, when scrolled past the player from different angles, gives the impression of multiple stage environments. This was genuinely revolutionary, as it gave Xevious a unique and advanced look without putting too much pressure on the processing. Sadly though, Xevious suffers from one of the worst pieces of video game music ever. You'll be treated to this little ditty for the full duration of however long you can stand to endure it. Forget about limitations of the time, silence would be a welcome alternative. In addition to the awful music, enemy designs are lackluster to say the least. Taking on an endless wave of grey shapes isn't super exciting. The only enemy I've seen which wasn't some shade of grey was a black blob. I would assume Namco wanted to put their colour focus in the stage backgrounds, but that doesn't change the fact that these enemies have no character. There are 16 stages in Xevious which begin to loop indefinitely if you can stay alive long enough. Personally, I can make it to about stage 6 and things are already getting hectic. The signs of things to come are certainly present here, as it's easy to see how games like R-Type and Ikaruga imitated Xevious. So, Bosconian versus Xevious. Bosconian does something different for the era with its variable difficulty and non-linear gameplay, whilst Xevious had amazing graphics and set a standard which has been imitated ever since. But neither are perfect. Bosconian can become monotonous and Xevious sounds like nails on a chalkboard stretching out into eternity. Recommendation wise, I think both are worth your time, just for curiosity's sake. Personally though, I prefer Bosconian. It isn't talked about much these days, so it might be exciting to discover a game from the early 80s you haven't heard much about before. Xevious, on the other hand, has an established place in the history of space shooters, and anybody interested in the genre should give it a try. Just keep in mind that both of these are getting on a bit. Arcade games don't come much older. I've been playing these on a Namco plug and play system which I got for Christmas a few years ago. These cost about £15 and you'll find them literally everywhere, usually containing one or both of these titles. I would recommend getting one less like a box full of knives though, as clutching Pac-Man's jagged head during intense gameplay can be painful. I've attached rubber feet to mine so I can play it on a table, which is something we call a mod in the gaming community. That's all for now, so thank you for watching. If you have anything to say about Bosconian or Xevious, please let me know, and I will see you next time.